Welcome back, guys. This is Lindsay. This is Linda's Investing, and today I wanted to talk about a deal I did last year. So, if you haven't checked out my other videos, please go check them out. At this point, I've been investing in Gary, Indiana for the last 2 years. I started in 2023. Reminder, I live in Los Angeles. I invested in the state, in Indiana particularly. And I fell into Gary through other investors that were investing there already, like Millennium Mike and Maskey Finance. But if you wanted to see how I did that, you could check them out. So at this point, that bit, we're investing in 5 deals already. So the first 2 years I invested, I bought 2 houses traditionally. So what it means that I put 20% down and I got a conventional mortgage and I purchased the first two. Number 3 was BRRRR, my first toe dip into a BRRRR. But 3, 4, and 5 were actually pretty heavy-handed BRRRRs, and BRRRR stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And what it's beautiful about that is that you can force equity into the deal and then cash out of that. But as the more that I was doing deals, the more I was learning about real estate. Real estate is a huge world in which you can make money many different types of ways. And I was learning about creative financing. And creative financing is like this area of real estate in which you can obtain a house, not the traditional way, meaning not buying cash or buying through a mortgage with a loan with the broker or with the bank. So creative financing is a way of transferring ownership of a house in a different way. So normally what you would think is putting a house on the market. Let's say you're a father and you want to sell your house to your son. You would most likely try to sell it off the market. So instead of going through realtors or going through a regular transaction of seller transaction, you could quit claim deed the house into your son's name. That's one way of being creative. But let's say that you are an investor like me, that you want to buy a house for somebody without the bank. And why would that be? There's many reasons why investors buy without banks, without conventional. First, conventional mortgages will run your income, and if you don't have enough income, if you don't have a good debt to income ratio, then you probably won't be able to get a conventional mortgage on the house. 2, there's a limit to how many conventional mortgages you can have under one person. If most of banks would say it's 10, so 10 houses under one name, and then so that's another barrier. Number 3 is like it takes quite a big of down payment to get traditional financing, so 20 to 25%. So this is where creative kicks in, right? After you hit all of those debt income ratio, more than 10 properties, you have all of those barriers, then you can think about creative financing. So creative financing, it's a way of transferring ownership, like I said. So for example, if I was an investor and I had somebody that wanted to sell me their house and they wanted to save on closing costs or the closing of the transaction, then they could sell to me via transfer of ownership, so a sale. So when that means is I would take title of the house. So one of the easiest ways to do owner financing or seller financing is when the seller, the one that has the house, owns it free and clear. There's no mortgage attached to the house. So if they own it free and clear, and then, for example, in the past, they bought the house 10 years ago for $100K, and now they can sell it to you for $200K because that's what the market price of the house is, then that means that owner is making $100K on profit, right? Because they spent $100K to make $100K. So, but they own it outright. So they will be receiving a $200K check, right? When they sell it to me. So one of the benefits for the seller is that they don't get that 200K right away unless I'm buying in cash. But for the sake of creative financing, is that I could present to the seller an offer, just like I could present the just like I could put an offer in any house. I could ask the seller to make a mortgage note backed by the property, and then the title can go over to me. So he sells it with the mortgage note. That's the best ideal case scenario when they own it free and clear. Why? Because now it is up to the seller and I, both of us, to come up with the terms of that note. So normally right now it's July 31st, and what the interest rates that are now and the country is somewhere between the lines of 6.7 to 7.0 when you're buying traditionally. But when I go and pitch seller finance to a seller, I can ask for a lower interest because there's no rules, right? I'm not applying to a bank. Nobody's running my credit. Nobody's checking my income. So there's no rules. As long as me, the investor, are running the numbers on that deal for me to cash flow, because that's the whole goal, right? To get an asset and cash flow. So as long as the interest agreed upon both of us benefits both of us, then we can move on with the transaction. So I can go to the lender, I can go to the seller and say, hey, I will, this house is valued to 100K. This is valued to 100K. I will pay you 200K. You won't have to pay any of the closing costs that you normally would have to pay if you were taking this to the market, or like purchasing off market. And you won't have to pay the capital gains tax that you get if you, for example, get that 200K check. So how I pitch it to them would be is like, I will give you a down payment. We'll create a mortgage note between the both of us, and we'll agree how many years and what's the interest and how long would it get paid off. And then so the interest could be 0, could be 5%, could be 6%, could be more. The down payment could be 0. The down payment could be 10%, 20%, 30%. The loan time, the time in years of the loan mortgage can be 30 years, can be 20 years, can be 10 years. There's also another feature to think about. Like some people do require balloon payment, which balloon payment means that they would want the loan to be paid after X amount of time. So the balloon payment is also up to discussion. It could be 2 years, 5 years. It could not have a balloon payment. So the terms are pretty much up to like what they're looking for between buyer and seller. So when I learned about seller finance, I was just like, okay, I'm going to go and get me a seller finance deal. So I got my realtor, who already have my property man. I have my team, a property manager, my realtor, my contractors, and other investors that I knew in the area of Gary. So I started telling my realtor that from now on, I'm going to give only seller finance offers, a cash offer and a seller finance offer. This was last year. Interest rates are high. There's not a lot of supply in the market. People are not really buying. So every house that I would look and run the numbers on in Gary, I would submit 2 offers, a cash offer and a seller finance offer. I kept getting rejected. I kept getting no. And finally, my realtor, who also belongs to an investing group and a Facebook group, talked to me about a different investor that was trying to offload their Gary properties. And then so I decided to take a look at the properties that he had. He was trying to get unload 4 properties. And then so I was really interested because I was like, let's talk about it. Anyways, we're going back and forth between my realtor and his realtor, negotiated a down payment of 10%, negotiated an interest rate of 6%, and negotiated an amortization period of 30 years and a balloon payment after 15 years. So this investor basically agreed to these terms after negotiation, of course. So once we negotiated, we went through regular escrow. And this is what's a little bit not traditional in seller finance. Normally, seller finance or owner finance would not be, I guess, processed through realtors, But since my realtor was the one that brought me the deal, I decided that I would continue to work with him. And if anybody brings you deals, please do, pay a commission. So we negotiated a commission as well, because this was the purchase of 4 houses, so 4 different transactions, and then so as a seller finance deal for each of them. But we negotiated a commission for my realtor. So we move on to regular. It's a regular transaction. I have an inspection period. We get an inspector over there. One of the houses came back with the sewage backup problem, and the inspector said it would probably cost a few $1,000s to repair it. So I ended up not taking on that house, and then so the house fell off the transaction, and so we moved forward with 3 houses. Mind you, 2 of those 3 houses were already occupied and bringing in rent. At the time of purchase, I was maybe cash flowing 7% on those seller finance deals, but those 2 houses were being rented under market rent. So I have the opportunity to increase my rent there and therefore increase my cash flow as well. And the other one, the one house that was not occupied, was not rented, it was ready to be rented. So that was the 3 houses that I purchased from him. So we went through closing. I got the money from my HELOC to put down. So it was 10% down. The purchase price for each house was $85,000. So it was $8,000 for 100 per house. And so 3 different transactions, 3 different closings, and 3 different deals. And when you're going through the seller finance deal, you're kind of nervous about the whole thing, because you're comfortable, at least I was comfortable with signing 200 pages when you're getting a traditional mortgage and you're getting your close documents and you're signing your life away. But when you're signing a regular, like a mortgage note, for example, then it's different, because the papers are significantly less, and there is just like a mortgage note backing up the house, and it is based upon the agreements that you guys agreed on. Like there's some things that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get an attorney, then I'm going to have them look this over. And then so at one point you think you're over your head. But thankfully at the time I was, I belonged to a community, one rent at a time by Michael Suber. So I had people to reach out. I had people to talk to. And that was like one of the best beneficial things that I had, because I was going like, what do I do? I'm talking to the attorney. The title company is well versed in creative finance, but I also need to double check everything that's being drafted up. So shout out to Hunter Gore that helped me walk me through it. Also my realtor who helped me walk me through it as well. But it is I guess everything that's new, it's hard. Everything that you don't know, makes you feel dumb. So walk through it, ask ChatGPT to read you contracts that you've never seen. So back and forth with all of those resources, your own gut, ChatGPT, people that have done seller finance before, your realtor who's holding your hand, inspector. Oh, forgot to mention that the property manager that the investor had who sold me the houses is also my property manager. So also the backup of my property manager saying these are houses that are pretty stable as well. So all of that helped me close the 3 properties from this deal. And then it was done. And once it was done, I was collecting rent for month 1 from 2 of them. And shortly after I closed, the 3rd one rented out. So I was able to rent that out. So just for numbers on that particular deal. So I purchased the house for $85,000 each of them. So the rent for property number 1 was $950, property number 2 was $900, and property number 3, when it ended up renting, was $1,250. So again, those cash flows were great. So once you take over seller finance deal, it can be straightforward as just creating a mortgage note that the person owns free and clear, and you paying them the note normally like you would your bank if you got a normal loan. But another way of transfer ownership of a house is via Subto. And if you don't know anything about Subto, if you haven't heard about Pace Morby, which is like a big real estate guru that has built their whole empire on the back of Subto. Subto is like, it stands for subject to the mortgage. So if, for example, my seller had owned one of the houses free and clear, the second house he had a mortgage on, so I purchased the house sub to his mortgage. And the third house he had it on an IRA. So there were three different creative transactions there, but all of them under the umbrella of creative. So it was a learning curve, but now that I've done it, now that I'm over the other side, I have more trust on myself, and I can reconstruct easier. And I think the whole thing is a learning experience. But I got into 3 houses for a down payment of $8,500. So I think that's pretty amazing. And that's the first time in which I got into a house for under 20%. So this is just another tool on my belt that I know about, and I can talk about, and then I can help somebody else going through the same process as well. So if you like to comment or talk about seller finance or owner finance, talk to me, and we can probably figure it out. But yeah, this is houses number 6, number 7, number 8. So these 3 acquired towards the end of last year. I already bumped up these rents too, so I'm cash flowing nicely on those houses. Actually, I am going to go to Gary this September, so we'll see what I can get my hands on when I go, but I'm hopeful. And yeah, this is my video today.